August 15th, 2000.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
The Democrats turned this convention night over to their liberal wing.
We must fight for protest and progress to make America better.
Overworked, underpaid.
But is that enough to appease the left?
I believe that they're making a huge mistake in not trying to address Ralph Nader's issues.
You cannot win an election as a Democrat with the left alone. You have trouble winning if you lose the whole left.
And also tonight, from Russia, the desperate struggle to save the crew of that sunken nuclear submarine.
Those in the stern may have a chance, but those in the bow, what they're going through, I can't bring myself to talk about it.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
There is a riveting and potentially disastrous human drama unfolding tonight in the Barents Sea, just south of Norway and off the coast of Russia. 116 Russian sailors are still trapped in a nuclear submarine on the ocean floor. Air and time are running out. We'll take a closer look at that story and at Russian rescue efforts during the second half of this program. We begin, however, by checking in on events at the second night of the Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles. This has been the evening on which Democrats have gotten in touch with their own liberal roots. Just as Republican activists, the kind of men and women who were chosen as delegates to that convention, tend to be more conservative than Republicans as a whole, Democratic delegates are, for the most part, more liberal than Democrats across the board. The general election in November will be about control of the vast political center, but neither party can afford to lose its true believers. Here's more now from Nightline correspondent Chris Bury in Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Tonight, the proud old stallions of the Democratic Party's left wing thundered from the podium, though only Senator Ted Kennedy spoke in a coveted primetime slot.
Will we comfort the comfortable, or will we strengthen the fabric of this country for all Americans?
That kind of rhetoric is still enormously popular here among convention delegates who the polls show are far more liberal than most Democrats. Despite their place in the sun tonight, the liberals have seen their role steadily diminish as the Democrats under Clinton and Gore have moved to the center. Was tonight token liberals' night for this convention?
Not at all. Tonight was an important night for the convention. Tonight we did everything possible to energize the base, to remind people how much better off they are now than they were 8 years ago.
But at this convention, many of the left-leaning activists that once had a stronger voice are on the outside, looking in at a party that many believe no longer values them.
I think that while I am an Al Gore supporter and elected to serve my constituents, I think they're making a mistake in defining the center by disregarding the liberals and the progressives.
California State Senator Tom Hayden, once a leading liberal voice in the party, believes the new Democrats have sold out, abandoning many of their core constituents.
Instead, they're trying to become more like Republicans, whether that's based on polling, some would say. I think it's also based on the dominance of where the money comes from at the convention. I mean, most of the money for the convention is from multinational corporations that get a lot of benefit out of, for example, the China trade.
I don't know why we don't have affordable housing, why we don't have good child care, why don't we have jobs for people that can work at decent wages.
The issues getting scant attention inside the Staples Center are on display outside at half a dozen alternative gatherings, including the Shadow Convention, where such prominent Democrats as former Senator Gary Hart are railing against the rightward tilt in their party.
Has it become so beholden to special interest groups that it cannot demand reform? Has it become so concerned for what is called centrism that it dare not demand justice for the forgotten poor?
On the streets, protesters march daily against everything from the Democrats' embrace of the World Trade Organization to the Clinton administration's support for a national missile defense. Just a few blocks, but worlds away from the Democrats' official gathering, advocates for the homeless are staging their own national forum led by veteran California activist Ted Hayes.
Because, see, what we are depicting here by having a national homeless convention to America and to the world is we have the tale of two conventions. One for the super rich, one for the super poor, side by side, neighbor to neighbor, door to door. This is typically the disparity that is growing in this country and around the world. That's why we're here.
Last night, Hayes and other peaceful activists marching with a permit got caught in a hail of rubber bullets and beanbags. Witnesses said Los Angeles police fired into a dispersing crowd after chasing a small band of violent demonstrators, upset that authorities had broken up a protest concert near the convention center. And today, more demonstrators, anarchists and animal rights activists were arrested. No one expects the New Democrats to embrace the radical left, of course, but the challenge for Al Gore is to attract support from both liberals and moderates in his party, the way Bill Clinton did 8 years ago.
I think that Gore has, in a way, more work to do than Clinton did, because in 1992, so many people at the left end of the Democratic Party wanted to win. This time, the Democrats have been in power long enough, and a lot of Democrats are concentrating on winning back the House. For a lot of liberal and left Democrats, winning back the House may be a higher priority than electing Al Gore. Gore has to change that.
The reason Al Gore has to worry is this man. Consumer advocate Ralph Nader, running on the Green Party ticket, attracts enough liberal voters in certain critical states, including California, that the vice president's pollster is concerned.
I take the Nader vote, seriously. Right now, he's getting something like 5 or 6% of the vote. By about 3 to 1, those would be Al Gore voters, are very anti-George Bush. They don't know enough about Al Gore on his own when he, speaks out on, on campaign finance reform, when he speaks out on some of the economic issues that he's going to address at the convention. I think many of those Nader voters will move to Gore.
The good news for Mr. Gore is that third-party candidacies historically fade as the election draws closer. And even some of the party's most hardcore liberals concede they really have nowhere else to go.
I think most Democrats believe that Bush and Cheney are worse, so we're either going to try to energize the Democratic ticket by saying you've got to deal with Nader's issues, or some are going to hold their nose, bite their lip, whatever the phrase is I'm looking for, and say after November we're going to sort all this out.
The trouble for liberals, of course, is that it's hard to argue with the success Bill Clinton and Al Gore have had moving this party to the middle. Before 1992, when Democrats took the White House, Republicans had won 5 of the previous 6 presidential elections. The trouble for Al Gore is he needs both wings of the party to fly in November. Ted?
Chris Peary, thanks very much. Coming up next, David Gergen and George Stephanopoulos, and later we'll have the latest on efforts to rescue those Russian submarine sailors.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Fidelity Investments.
Research can be the difference between a nest egg and a goose egg. That's why Fidelity's Power Street offers you access to independent market analysis and stock picks from Lehman Brothers. Power Street, online trading at Fidelity.com. Now you can look at, analyze, and select stocks by price, industry, or other valuations with Power Street's Stock Evaluator. Power Street, online trading at Fidelity.com.
If you want help maintaining healthy joints, the makers of Tylenol proudly introduce Aflexa. Aflexa contains glucosamine, which can help promote flexibility. Try it for a month. Aflexa, do what moves you.
Oh, leave me alone. Why miss calls when you're online? Get free internet call waiting when you switch to Sprint 1000.
Oh, yeah.
Call now at 1-800-PIN-DROP.
As Democrats rally in L.A., America turns to ABC News. Tomorrow, Joseph Lieberman in history takes center stage. The Democratic Convention tomorrow.
Oh, my feet are killing me.
You need Podiasyn Soak and Massage Gel, the medication made to relieve all kinds of foot pain, even arthritis. Only Podiasyn dissolves in water for fast pain relief, then rubs into open pores for deep, lasting relief.
Does Podiasyn really work?
Yes. Feet treated with unique double-action Podiasyn measure 65% more blood flow than untreated feet right after use.
The pain is gone.
Podiasyn. Fast relief that lasts.
Hi, I'm Bob Mueller. Here in Music City, community concerns can be solved by caring corporations. Join these companies in supporting the United Way.
Bell South's campaign increases employee morale and communications. We're happy to make Nashville a better place to live.
All of us at HG Hills know our gifts can assist seniors, care for children, and promote health and healing throughout the community.
Together, we can make a difference. Help us help others. Give generously to the United Way.
And we're back again tonight with our political duo from the Democratic Convention, David Gergen, editor-at-large at U.S. News and World Report, and George Stephanopoulos, ABC News analyst. George, I understand there are some reverberations from last night. Let's talk about those first.
A little bit. I think the Gore people are actually quite pleased with President Clinton's speech last night. He might have gotten to talk about Gore a little bit earlier, but basically they said no one else can tell the story of the last 8 years better, and this frees up Al Gore to talk about the future. What was more interesting was early in the day, senior White House aides were grumbling. They were saying that the Democratic Party and the Gore people conspired to push Clinton out of prime time by running behind schedule.
What about tonight, David? Anything of particular interest that was said tonight? I forget for a moment about the nod to the liberals. Any messages that came across tonight?
Well, it was mostly a walk down memory lane, Ted, in an effort to mobilize the base, which they so much need to do because, as you well know, Al Gore is not pulling his base the way George W. Bush is pulling his. But I thought the other interesting thing was the effort to put health care on the table now. Teddy Kennedy obviously rang those bells very strongly during his speech this evening, but there had been speakers before that who were pushing the same direction. And the Republicans are acknowledging in this hall, there's some wandering in this hall, are acknowledging they have to do more work on this. There may be a vulnerability that the Democrats could open up.
George, you were nodding vigorously. You think that's a theme that Joe Lieberman and then Al Gore himself is going to pick up?
Oh, no question about it. They think that the Republicans are vulnerable in a couple of ways on the issue of health care. First, the George W. Bush record in Texas. They'll talk about how he fought efforts to expand health care to poor children, how the number of uninsured has gone up. Secondly, they say that the Republicans didn't really talk about it too much at their convention. Finally, they believe that health care is their wedge to make a broader point on how what seems to be the new Republican Party is really the old Republican Party, what they'll say on the side of the pharmaceutical companies, on the side of the HMOs. They think this is a big opening for them.
Chris was talking earlier about the Ralph Nader threat. David, is that taken seriously among the Gore campaign officials?
It certainly is, because they know they could lose California to Ralph Nader if he pulls 6, 8, 10% in California. And you talk to people in San Francisco or Los Angeles who would ordinarily vote for Al Gore, and they say they're thinking seriously about Nader. Here's the other danger, Ted. If the most political scientists say at the end of the day, third-party candidates go down because people think it's a wasted vote. The fear has to be that if Gore gets 5 or 6 points behind, people say if they vote for Gore, it's a wasted vote, then they'll flip and go over to Nader as a protest vote against the direction the party has taken.
George, take the last word.
Yeah, that may be, but Gore's real problem is with voters who think he's more liberal than they are, not more conservative. His big problem in the battleground states is Catholics, seniors, and white men. They're worried about Clinton. They're worried that Gore might not be as fiscally conservative as Clinton. So Gore has to instead emphasize other issues to appeal to Nader, maybe the environment, maybe campaign finance reform. That can appeal to Nader without turning off those independents in the middle.
George, David, as you know, we have another big story tonight. We're going to turn to that next, the very latest on the Russian submarine rescue drama, when we come back.
Chris was like my shadow. She was always there. For 3 years, she'd drive down from her job at Kraft to tutor me. She'd be there tutoring for 2 hours. You know, reading, math, social studies. She was all over everything. My grades went way up.
The Philip Morris companies, including Kraft Foods, give back to our communities through corporate contributions and volunteerism.
She was cool. How many tutors do you know who will stick with a person for that long a time?
In the last 40 years, Philip Morris has given hundreds of millions of dollars to programs, like Chicago's Off the Street Club, that make a difference in people's lives.
When she left to have a baby, I told her I hoped she'd have a daughter. She already did a great job helping to raise a son.
Working to make a difference. The people of Philip Morris.
OnStar. This is Batman. I need my door unlocked.
I'll do it right away.
If you get locked out, an OnStar advisor can unlock your doors by remote. Even the most self-sufficient driver needs a little help now and then.
OnStar, this is Jeff Hilden. How can I help you, Batman?
I'm low on jet fuel.
The nearest station is 2 miles ahead on your left.
Thanks.
When your eyes feel dry, gritty, irritated, protect them with Refresh brand eye drops. First, Refresh relieves dryness. Then Refresh forms a lasting shield of protection that keeps irritation out and moisture in. Refresh. It relieves and protects.
As much as you have to run around these days, you need tires guaranteed to keep up. See the pros at Sears Auto Center today and get all Michelin tires on sale right now. Quick expert service, great deals on Michelin tires. Get rolling to Sears.
That new boss is from another planet.
Totally spaced out at that meeting.
Hey, what's that on your desk?
abcnews.com. Ready when you are.
You need a car or truck, here's how to get it. 1-888 Easy Credit.
I'm a single mom and I needed a car. So I called 1-888 Easy Credit.
My credit's a mess, but 1-888 Easy Credit gave me another chance.
It was fast, easy, and I got a car even with no previous credit.
You need a fresh start, here's how you get it. 1-888 Easy Credit.
Call 1-888 Easy Credit now.
Two attempts today to rescue the sailors trapped on the Kursk, the Russian submarine lying disabled on the ocean floor, have failed. A rescue capsule lowered from a surface ship was unable to dock with the disabled submarine. Time and oxygen are running out for the 116 sailors on board. Here's a background report from the BBC's Orla Girin in Moscow.
Beneath these waters, 116 men need a miracle. There are fears, though, the Russians don't have what it takes, not the most advanced technology. Sailors' lives are in the balance, but Moscow won't let NATO countries in to help. Secrecy first, analysts say.
Losing secrets to NATO, for that you can go to Siberia. For losing sailors' lives, no one yet did.
These are some of the crew of the Kursk. Men proud to serve their country. 2 days on, their families are frantic, desperate for information. The Navy is giving little, not even the names of those on board.
I can imagine that thousands and thousands of families all over Russia whose sons are having military service in the Northern Fleet are in a big worry now.
This is one of the last images of the Kursk at sea before disaster struck. A disaster Russia took 24 hours to admit and has changed its story about ever since. A foreign sub was blamed yesterday. Today, a mine. No casualties, the Navy claimed first. But this former submarine officer fears there may be many dead.
Up till now, there's been no reliable communication with the submarine. They have only acoustic signals telling them very little. I'm afraid there are victims, a lot of them.
That's just what this family dreads as they wait in silent fear in Kursk, the city which gave the sub its name. Their son, Dmitry, their pride and joy, is on the vessel.
We're not getting enough information. I don't think they're telling us all they know. The whole family is sitting here watching TV around the clock, wondering why it's taking them so long to rescue our kids.
So long that the signals from the ship are getting fainter, the tapping noise is dropping away. Oxygen on the Kursk is running low, according to a Navy spokesman, a terrifying thought for the families. But the Navy insists that time for a rescue won't run out until Friday.
And joining us now live from Moscow, BBC correspondent Orla Guerin. Orla, there's a third attempt now underway, is that true?
Well, in about 5 minutes' time, Navy officials tell us they hope to begin again. They've had 2 failures despite the fact that they've battled through the night here, but it really does seem, Ted, as if everything is against them. They've had very heavy currents sweeping the ocean floor. They've had high winds, very poor visibility, sand and silt getting in the way of this very complicated maneuver. They tell us it's a little bit like trying to do a space docking. They're trying to maneuver this rescue capital delicately into place, trying to position it so it can just drop down and clamp onto the hatch on the top of the submarine. But of course the vessel is listing, and that's making things even more difficult. But they are going to make one more attempt, and I suspect many more attempts after that, because they realize now that lives really are in the balance.
As you indicated before, the Russians have really not responded at all to offers by NATO powers and by the United States specifically to help them. Is there any reason to believe that the United States would be more successful in a rescue attempt than the Russians are here?
Well, it's commonly understood here, even by people within the military, that Russia does not have the most up-to-date rescue technology. The authorities have been insisting that they're able to manage, saying that they don't need any help. But many analysts here would question that. They believe that in an operation this difficult and this complicated, for which there is no set textbook procedure, you can do with all the help you can find. And I think particularly with the oxygen running out, many people here will be wondering why the Russians are being so reluctant. People's lives are at stake, and with every hour that passes, the chances of bringing these men up alive is reduced.
Now, the submarine, I understand, was off on major maneuvers, and I'm told that there were some senior naval officers on board. Do you know about that?
Well, this is one of the great ironies of this story and of this tragedy. We're told that possibly up to 10 senior members of the Russian Naval Command were on board. They had gone out on these exercises, the biggest in years. It was supposed to be a show of strength by Russia's Northern Fleet. They were on board a ship, a submarine which was described as unsinkable. This was the pride and joy of Russia's Northern Fleet. Naval commanders are telling us they believed it would simply be impossible for this sub to go down. And yet that's exactly what's happened in peacetime in waters that were relatively calm.
Orla Guerin, many thanks to you. When we come back, more on the submarine crisis in tomorrow's edition.
On that internet stock and that lakefront property. Well, now, during the Chrysler 2000 final clearance, you can make up for it with our biggest cash allowances of the year on new 2000 models. Up to a $3,000 cash allowance on Chrysler minivans. Or you can get over $4,000 in cash and finance savings. Hey, you passed on that chain of coffee houses, so get to the Chrysler 2000 final clearance, only at your Chrysler dealer.
You're doing good, Danny. You get tired, you lean on me.
You're a joke. It is an outrage to let this trial continue.
If you die, and I very well might kill you, that's against my reputation. When you suffer, and believe me, you will suffer. That's on my conscience. That is who I am.
I'm a Cook's technician.
I represent the dedication to excellence that Cook's Pest Control stands for. My customers may not know I go through the most comprehensive training in the industry. They just see me. To them, I am Cook's. I go out every day with the guarantee I'll do the job right. And that's why we say, Cook's treats your home with care.
Looky, 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 here comes Cookie, Cook's Pest Control.
Get ready, This world-class event is a winner. Toyota's 2000 clearance. Big selection of new Toyotas and big clearance values. Are you ready to go for it? The V8-powered Toyota Tundra, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, is just $289 a month for 48 months with $25.34 due at signing and no security deposit. Get to this world-class clearance event now through September 5th at your Toyota dealer.
New York Times reporter Chris Drew is co-author of the book Blind Man's Bluff, a look at submarine espionage during the Cold War. He has written the lead story for the New York Times on the Russian sub and joins us now from New York with tomorrow's edition. Chris, in the moment or so that you and I were speaking before we went on the air, you were saying to me that you think the Russians are using 50s technology to rescue a 90s sub. What do you mean?
I think so. The diving bell that they're trying to send down there to reach these men really was invented in the 1930s. It was used successfully in shallower, calmer water to rescue more than 30 American submariners in 1939. I would suspect that the Russians probably have some bells in their fleet that they built in the 50s and 60s. They've got this sub that was completed in 1994. They can't get that bell as they hold it down from the ship on a tether. They can't get it to hook up with the hatch of the sub because of the waves and the storm. But I'm really wondering, even if they could get it to against the hatch, if the thing would really hook up and give a watertight seal.
Is there, given the fact that the sub is listing as badly as it is on the floor of the ocean, is there a more modern technique that perhaps the United States would be able to employ?
Well, the rescue vessels that we have more ability to maneuver and power themselves if they were over there. One problem is I don't think we could have gotten them over there fast enough, given how few days of air these men had, even if the Russians had asked for help sooner. Secondly, given the listing of the sub, people talk about it off to one side, maybe 60 degrees. It would be very hard to maneuver anything in there and to make a watertight seal with that hatch.
Do you accept what Russian authorities are saying, that the men should have enough air to survive until Friday?
I don't think that's really true from what we can tell. I mean, no one knows whether they maintained battery power once they hit the bottom. If they had a full charge on their batteries, our experts tell me they probably could have had 2 or 3 days in which they could run some emergency lights, maybe some air cleaning equipment. If this sub sunk on Saturday, which they were now saying today instead of Sunday, they've got to be getting to pretty low ebb.
Chris, we only have about 30 seconds left. Do you have any sense at all as to what caused the explosion on the sub?
Today, in the latest round of statements from the Russian leaders, they were talking about a possible torpedo accident. Over the years, we had a lot of submarines where torpedoes would just spontaneously ignite, and there was a delicate procedure that could keep them from exploding on board. One possibility is that happened to these guys, and they weren't able to stop it from exploding.
Chris Drew, thanks very much for joining us. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, an interview with Hadassah Lieberman. On World News Tonight, the money trail, access and influence for sale in Los Angeles. And ABC News special coverage of Joseph Lieberman's address to the convention will begin at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
For interactive coverage of the candidates and the issues in the 2000 presidential campaign, log on to the Nightline page at abcnews.com.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
As Democrats rally in Los Angeles, abcnews.com is there right now, behind the scenes, 24 hours a day. Go to abcnews.com.
Tomorrow, secret corporate money and the senator who wines and dines the powerful. His access and influence for sale. World News Tonight follows the money trail tomorrow.
Jeff Ray and Storm Tracker 2000, morning and noon on News 2. Now, News 2 at 10. First, fast, accurate.
Say there's a shooting range next door to you and some ammo zings around your head, around your kids. What do you do?
This is not a hypothetical situation for some Middle Tennesseans. Find out how they're dealing with it. But first, the Democratic National Convention.
That's right, a Tennessean takes center stage, and he is not Al Gore. You're seeing him right now on your screen as day 2 of the partisan love-in is a wrap.